This is Wheelchair Wellness, and I want to remind you all that we don't need to walk to be well. I have a spinal cord injury and have been paralyzed from my chest down for over 20 years. It happened when I was 18 years old. It's been hard, especially at first, but I have felt levels of joy, hope, and love that I never felt before my injury. I have also been a licensed occupational therapist who specializes in spinal cord injury for over 10 years. And more importantly, a husband and a father of twins. The information in this video is for educational and general information purposes only. Everyone's needs and abilities are different, so please check with your healthcare provider or medical team before making changes to your routine, exercises, or equipment setup. Thank you, enjoy the video, and support disability everywhere, especially in your community. What's up? Today, we're back with the second part of the top 10 priorities for long-term health and wellness after a spinal cord injury. These are the most important things that you can do for your health after a spinal cord injury. If you aren't doing some of these things, it's okay. But I strongly recommend you work them into your routine. Let's get into it. Number 5 is learning to be as independent as possible. This includes functional independence and wheelchair skills. This is where health meets real life. In your inpatient and outpatient therapy, you should have learned how to be as independent as possible with ADLs and IADLs. These are the foundations that occupational therapy is based on. ADLs are activities of daily living, and they include functional mobility, which are transfers, bed mobility, wheelchair propulsion, and wheelchair skills. ADLs also include bathing, dressing, feeding, grooming, toileting, and last but certainly not least, sex. IADLs are instrumental activities of daily living, and these are a catch-all for everything else you want and need to do throughout your day. Things like cleaning your home, doing laundry, meal preparation, driving or taking public transportation, grocery shopping, childcare, working out, taking care of pets, working, volunteering, leisure activities, using technology, scheduling appointments, and taking medications as directed. If you need to be more independent with any of these tasks or something else, and you don't feel you can safely practice on your own, that is a great goal to set for occupational therapy. All you need is a doctor's prescription for an OT evaluation to get started. Independence isn't about doing everything the normal way. It's about finding your way to do it, safely, efficiently, and with as much control as possible. Wheelchair skills include using the proper propulsion technique. If you don't know what that is, please watch my video on it. Your propulsion technique, or how you push your chair, is a main predictor of if you'll need shoulder surgery in the future. So please watch that video and use the semicircular method to help protect your shoulders while you push. Wheelchair skills also include learning how to do wheelies, learning how to carry things while propelling your wheelchair, and many, many more things. To maximize your wheelchair skills, I recommend playing adaptive sports. I have played adaptive sports for over 20 years, and I feel like I have better chair skills than a lot of people with much more function than me. I feel like I can push this chair about anywhere it can realistically go, and that's a very good feeling to have. Independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It is okay to need help. Just please try to figure out how to be as independent as you possibly can. Just because you cannot do something the first time doesn't mean it's not possible. Some people cannot do certain things. That's okay. But we have to find other ways to get things done with what we have. And that's when we have to start improving our wheelchairs and finding adaptive equipment or cheaper everyday items that can help maximize our independence. Number 4 is finding and obtaining the proper equipment that optimizes your function and allows you to be as independent as possible. For me, that is a wheelchair that fits my body. I like my legs close together and my feet under my body. I like a supportive cushion and backrest that keeps my body stable, but also helps reduce pressure on my sacrum and ITs, or the high pressure points of my butt. I'm currently using a Ride Custom 2 cushion and a Roho Agility backrest. These help stabilize my lower body and trunk. When my trunk and hips are stable, I can do much more with my upper body. Equipment can either protect your body or enhance it or slowly break it down. Your wheelchair setup affects balance, stability, skin pressure, shoulder load, posture, energy expenditure, and confidence. Good equipment is not a luxury. It takes time and sometimes luck to find the best equipment for you. Equipment also doesn't just mean a wheelchair. It includes many other things. What's the best vehicle for you to drive? What's the best equipment for your workouts? To cook with, to stretch with. If you have decreased hand function, what equipment do you need to help with this? It really includes anything that makes your life easier. There are so many things we need to do, and there is equipment that can help with most of it. Here's some other equipment that I use a lot. A suction cup reacher. I use this to pick stuff up from my floor, put stuff back into my cabinets, and even change light bulbs. I think all other types of reachers are pretty worthless, but I'm a big believer in suction cup reachers because they can hold so many things, and you can actually hold things with a little weight to them. Watch this. This is a cup full of water. I use a stationary arm bike for cardio and dumbbells for resistance exercises. I have a Magna Trainer stationary bike and 3, 5, 10, and 20-pound dumbbells. I watch TV or listen to music and pedal my bike for 30 minutes and then lift for 30 minutes. I use my vehicle almost every day. It's nothing special, but it works for me. I have a 2011 Toyota Sienna. It has hand controls and a spinner knob on the steering wheel. I don't have a ramp or any lift on it. I just transfer into the driver's seat, then break down my chair and put it in the back. This allows me to drive myself and my family around when I need to. It takes me a while, but I can even load and unload my kids from their car seats. I also use a basic shower bench and a commode every other day to complete my bowel program and shower. Many never get what they need. There are so many people who will sell us bad equipment because they are uneducated or just greedy. Quality equipment doesn't need to be expensive either. It just needs to work for you. The best equipment, in my opinion, are things that can be repurposed to improve your life, not the things that cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. A good friend of mine with decreased hand function uses rubber bands to help him hold normal items in his hands, and a simple plastic hanger to help him stretch his fingers. There are much more expensive items that are made to do these things, but he prefers the more simple option because they work for him. If your equipment doesn't fit your body and your life, it's worth revisiting, no matter how long you have lived with a disability. If there are things that you still have issues with, please post them below. I can try to help as much as I can. Also, talk to other people with similar disabilities as you to see what works for them. They will be the best people to ask. Number 3 is learning and performing proper bowel and bladder management. Unfortunately, almost everyone with spinal cord injuries have issues with bowel and bladder control. This is because the nerves for bowel and bladder control are in the lowest part of your spinal cord. Many people that I see in outpatient therapy don't know how to properly manage their bowel and bladder. Some of that has to do with hospitals not teaching it, which is ridiculous and inexcusable. You should know how to do a bowel program by the time you leave inpatient rehab. Some have been taught and chose not to listen. Some physically can do everything, but they let others do it for them because they think it's gross. This is going to be shocking to everyone, but I'm going to tell you guys honestly. It is gross. Cathing involves sticking a tube into your urethra. And a bowel program involves sticking your finger up your butt and digging poop out. I understand why people think those things are gross. But do you know what's also gross? Having accidents in public and either having to drive home and clean up or finding a public restroom to clean yourself and your chair. Bowel and bladder management may be gross, but it is necessary. I would much rather do these things than wear a diaper or have to constantly worry about having accidents. Or the grossest thing, actually having accidents and having to clean myself and my wheelchair and anything else I got onto. So it may be gross, but you need to do it. And I think it's far less gross than the alternatives. The sooner you start doing it for yourself, the better. I will never say you have to enjoy cathing and doing a bowel program, but you have to do it if you're able. Cathing and doing a bowel program are usually not the highlights of my day, but they are an extremely important part of it. Managing my bladder and bowels properly allows me to go through my day without being fearful of accidents. And that makes all those gross things that I have to do entirely worth it. When I cath and do my bowel program consistently, I don't have to worry about accidents. Before I learned these things, that's all I did was worry about having accidents. That was terrible. If you don't cath and you need to, it will lead to countless accidents, UTIs, or kidney damage. If you don't do a bowel program and need to, it will also lead to countless accidents, fecal impaction, or death. Wearing a diaper is fine, but please don't rely only on a diaper to manage your bowel and bladder unless you absolutely have to. Wearing a diaper isn't managing your bowel and bladder. You are simply having accidents in a diaper. There is a good possibility that you may not be fully emptying your bowel and bladder when this happens, which will lead to further health complications that you don't want, like kidney damage and fecal impaction. If you don't want to or physically cannot self-cath, you can have a Foley catheter or a suprapubic catheter. The suprapubic catheter is recommended for long-term over a Foley to help protect your urethra, for better sexual function and intimacy, and for better hygiene and care. If you don't want to do a bowel program, you can get a colostomy bag. There are many who sing the praises of colostomy bags after spinal cord injury. I am not one of those people yet. But honestly, not having to do a bowel program does sound intriguing. I am lucky to have a sensation that tells me right before I need to pee. I think it's mostly autonomic dysreflexia, but it gives me a heads up about a minute or less before I start peeing. Otherwise, I would need to cath and drink water on a schedule throughout the day. I still try to cath at least every 6 hours and drink at least 2 liters of water a day. I also get Botox shots in my bladder every 6 months to help reduce my bladder spasms. This has helped me be less afraid to drink water. There was over a decade of my life where I didn't drink near enough water because I was scared I would have an accident. I am very glad those days are over. I complete my bowel program every other morning. I use the Parastine system. I still need to do digital stimulation, but it's less than when using a suppository or mini enema. It usually still takes me 30 minutes to sometimes over an hour. When bowel or bladder isn't reliable, everything else takes a back seat. You have to learn how to manage them. It takes time and practice. If you stick with it and do it correctly and consistently, it will greatly decrease your risk of having bowel and bladder accidents. This is about health, dignity, and freedom. And a solid bowel and bladder routine is not just gross. When done correctly, it is extremely liberating. Number 2 is learning proper pressure management and performing skin checks. Skin health depends on movement, equipment, nutrition, and daily habits. Pressure injuries are one of the most common and most devastating long-term complication after a spinal cord injury. They can develop quietly, escalate quickly, and lead to surgery, bed rest, and eventually death if they don't get treated or are ignored. Pressure reliefs and skin checks aren't optional. They are simple acts that protect your future. If you don't do them, they can easily lead to pressure sores, which can derail your life. Here are the stages of pressure sores and on average how long it will take to heal. Stage 1 isn't an open wound. It's just redness or a bump that doesn't turn white or blanch when you press on it. It usually takes a few days to a week of being in bed for most of the day to heal it. Stage 2 is when the skin opens, but the wound isn't deep yet. This can take around 3 to 4 weeks to heal. Stage 3 is when things get scary. A stage 3 pressure sore looks like an open crater. These take 2 to 4 months to heal. Stage 4 is the worst. This is when the wound is so deep that bone, muscles, or tendons are showing. Wounds this deep often involve tunneling, which is when the injury tunnels underneath the skin. These take 6 months to over a year to fully heal. When you have any open wound on your butt or any other area that's sensitive to pressure injuries, especially if it looks like a crater or a hole, you need to be at the hospital seeing wound care, or in the ER if wound care has a long wait. You also need to be doing everything you possibly can to get off of it. It doesn't matter what else you need to be doing. Healing a pressure sore should always be your top priority. Skin breakdown doesn't just affect your body. It affects your independence, your mental health, and your life. Do your pressure relief for 30 seconds every 15 minutes. If you're at a higher risk because you're bony or have dry or thin skin, or a history of pressure injuries, you probably want to do pressure relief for 60 to 90 seconds every 15 minutes. Check your bottom, hips, feet, and any other spots sensitive to pressure injuries every day. Especially make sure to check when you're wearing new clothes or sitting or lying on new surfaces. If you cannot see your backside to check it, they make adjustable mirrors you can use. With these mirrors, I can lay on my stomach or side and look at my butt. If there is no way to look at your butt, you can use a phone and take video or a picture. And worst case scenario, just feel for bumps or holes with your hand. Number 1 is the foundation for everything else. Keeping your body moving and getting consistent exercise. You have to keep your body strong and flexible. This will keep you as healthy as possible for as long as possible. This one is a big one and includes a lot. But if you stay strong and flexible, this should make everything else much easier. Movement and exercise improves circulation, supports skin health, aids bowel function, protects your shoulders, regulates mood and energy, and reinforces your identity as an active person. This section includes many different aspects of exercise and movement. Here is what I think is most important. First, resistance exercises or strength training. It's recommended you perform resistance exercises at least 2 days a week, doing at least 2 to 4 sets with 8 to 12 reps. Resistance means pushing or pulling against weight, like dumbbells, resistance bands, or weight machines. Don't strive for the minimum. If you want to get stronger and build muscle, you should be working out at least 3 times a week. I work out 3 to 5 times a week, usually 2 sets of 10 to 12. When I work out, I use mostly 3, 5, and 10-pound dumbbells. I focus primarily on my back and shoulders every time. Then I work in my biceps, triceps, and wrists if I have time. I don't do too much weight when I do shoulder raises. I stick with 3 to 5 pounds. Certain exercises I don't use any weight at all. You need to be able to slowly raise and lower the weight without compensating with any other body parts before you go up in weight. I recommend starting with lightweight and slowly working up to heavier weights. If any of the exercises cause pain, stop. Do not continue if it keeps causing pain. Next, cardiovascular exercise or cardio. I recommend that you get at least 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise at least 3 days a week. Moderate activity means you're breathing so hard you cannot sing. Vigorous activity means you should only be able to say a few words without pausing for breath. Cardio is different from resistance exercises. Cardio is when you're moving continuously without a break. For my cardio, I usually do 30 minutes on a stationary arm bike. I usually watch TV or a movie while I do it to make it more enjoyable for me. I occasionally use split ropes for cardio. I made some for $5 by doubling up 2 kids' jump ropes. Other ways I do cardio is pushing around my community in my wheelchair, hitting a punching bag, or doing body weight workouts continuously for 30 minutes. Many of these workouts can be found online for free. Just search wheelchair cardio in YouTube. Next is stretching. Stretching is important because it allows you to do things like getting dressed from bed or even getting dressed from your chair. Increased flexibility means being able to lean forward more, which means transferring to higher surfaces and pushing up steeper hills. If I wasn't flexible, I would need help with a lot more things that I can do independently now because I'm flexible. I recommend stretching at least once a day to maintain flexibility. And if you want to improve your flexibility, you should be stretching 2 or more times a day. Anytime you're stretching, you want to hold the stretch where it's a comfortable stretch for at least 20 seconds. If you have AD symptoms or pain, back off and stop if it continues. I stretch my core and lower extremities every morning before I get out of bed. Most nights, I also do a shortened version of this, and I do some modified long sitting to stretch my hamstrings and lower back. Next is weight bearing. Weight bearing is putting weight through your bones and joints. This includes your legs, especially your hip, femur, and shins. Weight bearing is important because it helps slow bone density loss, which is common after spinal cord injuries. This increases your risk for fractures, which lead to hospitalizations, surgery, and further health complications. I recommend you stand for 30 to 60 minutes, at least 3 to 5 times per week. I try to do that, and I haven't had any fractures for over 20 years, and I've had more falls than I'd like to admit. Weight bearing is challenging for many adults with spinal cord injuries because they cannot easily get a standing frame. This makes no sense to me. There is plenty of research showing the benefits of standing, and I think some insurance companies will pay for adults to have standing frames. but they will often deny it 2 to 3 times before they will approve it. If you cannot get a standing frame, there are other ways to do weight-bearing exercises. The best place to learn these would be in physical therapy. But here are some examples if you want to try on your own. Getting into the quadruped position on a bed, mat, or floor, and tall kneeling while leaning on a bench or a couch. Last but not least is therapy and exercise for recovery. I haven't had therapy in over 20 years, but it was a very positive and important part of my life. My OT and PT had a huge impact on me. That's why I became an occupational therapist. It is very important to give therapy a chance and recover as much of your body as possible. But to be honest, I don't have any personal experience with this type of recovery. I tried, and I still try, to move my core and my legs, but I never got any movement back. But that's okay, because I maximized the function I do have, and I have been fully independent since around 9 months after my injury. I have kept getting stronger and taking care of my body. I got better and better, and I only recently started seeing strength declines due to age. I am fine, and I am fully recovered. If you do have movements that are returning, you owe it to yourself to strengthen those movements as much as possible. Please focus on your recovery, but also don't let your recovery stop you from living your life. The most important thing is don't just lie in bed unless you have a pressure sore. If you have the ability, even if it's difficult, get up and get as active as possible. Your body and mind will thank you. This list isn't about being perfect. It's about protecting your future self. If you're newly injured, don't feel overwhelmed. These foundations will build over time. If you're years post-injury, it's never too late to revisit them. Long-term health after a spinal cord injury isn't one big decision. It's countless decisions that you make consistently. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions, so please drop a comment below with any questions, comments, or requests for future videos. This is Wheelchair Wellness. Keep thriving and living your best life. Your urethra, your urethra, your urethra, your urethra, your urethra.